po, Dok.
Okay, so
Lang,
not a problem. We just have to submit it, then we just have to, I'll just have to review it for your clerkship now. So, anyway, I've been tasked by the dean already to give your grades on the 29th. So, that means we just have like a week. So, for those with problems, please get in touch with me. So, obviously, ang issue kasi natin dito, from my end, I don't think as far as the grades, I'll be that very, shall we say, I'll be giving you a hard time as far as this one. So obviously, ang ano lang natin dito, almost all of you have submitted all the requirements all at the same time. So ang issue ko na lang dito, yung first prelims natin, that might make a difference as far as your grades. Other than that, there have been a lot of absences. Ang computation ko dito, I think I have mentioned it to you, kung by the ruling ng CHED, supposedly yan, we just have like three absences, I think, or two. So two, I think 1 point something, 1.8. So that means two absences. That should be a problem. So for those having absences more than 4 and above, you do have problems now. Kasi not for anything. As always, I think for the last year, that has been a rule. So if you do have absences 4 and above, that should be a problem by itself. So get in touch with me as far as those who knew they do have absences. Kasi by the 29th, I've been asked to submit the grades already for those who are going to clerkship. So by the way, may I know how many would be going to clerkship para I would know what to do. So would we know that? Uh, alam niyo ba kung ilan yung possible na candidates for clerkship among you? Wala
Di
tayong idea. So anyway, we just have to deal with that. No? So anyway, the dean called me today that I have to submit the grades by the 29th. So we'll have a promotions board, I think right after that. So that means grade should be submitted. So yung last na activity natin would be on the video itself. No? So the video na-submit na siya. So I guess that's not a problem. So that, as always, that's 80% now per grade. So the evaluation, wala na naman siya. No? Just an evaluation basically. So that means yung video should be it. Right? Tama ba, Reina?
yes po, Dok.
So that means practically settled na yung grades nyo. Just have to go now to yung natin, yung sa first prelim. So the differences now will be there. No? So yung iba kasi, they lower the passing grade. Now from my end kasi, wala naman akong problema for the two terms. No? So midterms and the finals. Kasi inaabot na naman tayo ng lockdown. So essentially, that's not a problem from my end. So you do have accomplished your videos, all the submitted reports. Sisingilin ko na lang kayo after the lockdown. So kung face-to-face na tayo, we now have to go to the report. So anyway, you still have 1 year with us kung you go into clerkship, not an issue by me, right? So maano ko naman kayo sa clerkship, mahahabol ko kayo. If ever that's the case, if I have to go through that. No? So ang importante lang dito, make sure if you do have problems, get in touch with me as much as possible kasi I just have the 29 to submit everything. So I have computed your first prelim grade. Therefore, siya yung pinaka-basis ng natin. The differences would lie there as far as the grading. No, so for the rest kasi it's almost the same. So anyway, yung dati kang paraluman, it's a follow-up on our biodiversity thing. Teka, sanali lang. Kung gusto niya Okay, so anyway, yung dati kang paraluman, it's a take off from yung biodiversity thing natin. I think you're still to submit this one, tama? First need to submit this one. So on top of the video, no, this will be yung 20%. So 20% na, nakapakadali na naman yan. So just an essay for every group. Can I hear anyone to report on this? I mean, pwede ba magsabi what they went through as far as, well, supposedly in 7 episodes. Can we comment on this one? Anyone willing to comment o ayaw na? So basically kasi what I intended kasi we're supposed to have like a summit or something, but since we're so exhausted, puro seminars na lahat, I thought it would be best just to submit a reaction to the whole episode. So I think nakita nyo naman supposedly based on the 7 episodes. So Phil Stage was raising money for obviously the stage actors. No? So if you went through that, makita nyo, it's really a very big problem. So, I don't know if you follow K-pop. I'm not good in K-pop. My daughters, they love K-pop. I just heard BTS just had a concert. I don't know, 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So, marami sa inyo K-popers. Ano? So, anyway, what was mentioned there, it will change the landscape of the concert-going individuals. No? So, instead of actually attending a concert, it will actually be what? Attending it through live streaming now. So this will change the complexity of everything. So anyway. So yun lang yung ibig ko sabihin. It has changed everything. So in this case kasi live streaming siya. So there were several songs. So initially this is a take-off from yung mga kundiman na song. So traditional na kanta to ng mga Pilipino. So if you've seen yung mga singers na, yung mga kinanta, Hernani Cuenco, they're supposed to be very prolific. I think yung the rest ng songs, sa Mutya ng Pasig, these were by, usually they were sung by mabuhay singers before. So the mabuhay singers, they were those who preserve Filipino condiments. Of course, on top of that, Ruben Tagalog, among others, ang tanda ni Dr. Mendoza. But I grew up listening to this music. So, my dad would play the vinyl records. I don't know if any one of you would still remember vinyl records. I think you're too young to remember that. But it's making a comeback. No? So, if you go by yung sa Trinoma, by yung sa Seda, no? Very near Seda, meron doon na. No? They have vinyl records. Unfortunately, wala nang needle. It's like a laser thing already. So, well, you used to have yung 45s. They called the 45s. They're supposed to be yung mga single. And of course, we do have the long playing. So, LP siya. So, long playing na vinyl records. And right now, it's making a comeback. So, if you go through eBay, it has become really sought after and very collectible item. Of course, you know, Dr. Mendoza, something of the old, no? So something na tradition. So if you go by, say, those press sa beat ng sa Amerika, yung mismong ginawa sa Amerika or press in London, these are highly sought after and very collectible items, so especially the Beatles. So you do have yung first American na LP ng Beatles, lalo na in mint condition, so it is very sought after, very collectible. So in our case kasi, usually, ito yung mga kanta. No? So yung mga kanta nung araw, before there was television or even radio at that, we used to have what? We used to have the parang opera siya. Or we have yung, I don't know if you remember, as far as yung biodiversity walk natin, yung photo walk natin, you're supposed to pass through 2 important theaters. So very near MMC, doon sa Medios, anong nandun, anong hotel? Anyone can answer? Anong hotel na malapit doon?
Grand Opera.
Grand Opera. Would you know what historical event happened there?
Ipo.
So, may historical marker doon. So, I won't say so much. I want you to, when the lockdown is over, take a look. No? It's very, I think, I'm not mistaken, mini-stop siya. There's supposed to be a marker there. It's supposed to celebrate an event in or a milestone in our history. So these are supposedly part nung dapat pinuntahan nyo. There's a marker there. So the Grand Opera House would usually be the home to culture and arts as far as the Philippines is concerned. So ang dami nagsimula dyan. So if you go by the cafe, nandun yung mga pictures ng nagtatrabaho dun sa opera. So of course, take note si Dolphy, I think, Herman Moreno, Atang de la Rama. Of course, there's supposed to be si Katie de la Cruz, yung queen ng scat and jazz sa Pilipinas. Of course, wing duo, all these things. They're supposed to be performers ng ito yung mga teatrong Pilipino. Of course. So, the other one would be the Metropolitan Theater. No? So, this is being refurbished. If you take note, bago kayo pumunta sana sa Arroceros Park, this is an area where supposed to be major events ng Philippine arts and culture would have been established. I think ang issue dito kasi is being refurbished. So inabutan na ng lockdown. And what have they discovered? Yung nag-restore initially ng Metropolitan Theater did something wrong about it. No? So sinira nila yung structure supposedly. Of course, that's conservation for you. So there are several issues. If you take note sa paligid nun, mga old posters of program. So usually, nung panahon ng Marcos era, I think this is the boom for Philippine arts and culture. So na-revive yung teatrong Pilipino. I don't know if you've noticed it. So nothing political, ano? Of course, I know some of you, iba yung mga vision on things o pananaw. And I do respect that. I grew up during the martial law era. So martial law baby, I should say, ang parang tingin sa akin. So my mindset would be different. Studied in a school known for its activism. But otherwise, other than that, so what I'm trying to point out here, culture and arts boom during this time. So if you notice, you go to Folk Arts Theater, tanghaan lang what? Francisco Balagtas. And Francisco Balagtas was known for what? He's known for his poetry. So in term na balagtasan. So it's very crucial. Most of the foreign acts, foreign concerts at that time was being done there. So ang dami niyan, mga foreign acts. Kung yung ngayon, MOA Arena, or yung concert grounds. Kasi my daughters would be attending some of the concerts. Even my son. So sino ba yung mga pumunta na yan ng mga artists, all those Taylor Swift, si Ariana Grande, all those. But during our time, this was home to yung ng culture sa atin. So PICC, so I like jazz music, so ang dami yan. It was home to it. It was during my residency program initially that I would attend some of the classical jazz artists performing there. So obviously for reasons. Then of course you go to Folk Arts Theater. Ito yung dati in na in. There was no air conditioning. It was open air. But it was there. George Benson. Okay, so napakarami. No? Of course, I'm too old for, if you would remember. Of course, we do have, kasi noong time namin, it was just music. Therefore, we were there in attendance. Of course, the other pop icons during our time. So anyway, CCP complex was home to everything. So if you go to CCP, iba siya. CCP is known for ballet. So ballet music. So you have Lisa Makua, Freddy Elizalde, of course, the helm din. So may mga partners sila. So you'll always have yung mga, well, ang Nutcracker would be very famous as always kasi this would be done around Christmas time. It has something to do with Christmas. Of course, A Dream with the Nutcracker and all that. Of course, Swan Lake Ballet, you know that. Natalie Portman made it very famous, no? Won the Oscars for it. And there was an issue kasi most of the takes daw from the movie itself was done by yung double niya. And therefore, she was asking for the Oscars na hindi dapat deserve daw ni Natalie Portman. But this is part ng arts and culture. No? Of course, there are other controversies. Of course, CCP o Tanghalang Balagtas at that, even the Folk Arts Theater would house one act plays. It was during this time, no? So Palangka Awards, the Palangka Awards would go into poetry, then a lot of one act plays. Of course, well, anyway, one way or the other, this has led me to the interest in the arts because my dad had a copy of a play. It's about a soldier talking to a prostitute. So on their way there were exchanges of ideas. Of course, at that time, that was the hype of all of it. No? We don't have the internet, we don't have the Wi-Fi, we don't have e-books. So all we have are books, and they are supposedly very expensive. So what we have would be mimeograph copies of these plays. Then obviously at that time, the hype would be like to enter into a poetry camp sponsored by the UP Creative team. Of course, the Palangka awardees. No? At that time, that they were very famous at that. Of course, it's nearing July. No? Usually July 2, July 2, no? July 4. That would be the birthday of Imelda Marcos. And Metropolitan Theater would always have a play, a stage play in zarzuela format. So yung zarzuela, ito yung Pilipino na theater arts din. So zarzuela siya. So merong comedian, supposed to be, merong sayaw, may music, and of course mga skits. So always all this. And then, as I mentioned, it was during the time of Imelda Marcos that this was blossomed, this cherished into our fold. We do have artists, painters at that. Of course, music, Cecil Licad was one of them. So I think she was trained classically at Juilliard. So Juilliard, if you're trained in Juilliard, you're supposed to be a very good concert artist. Meron tayong tinawag young artists of the Philippines. And this was looking for what? Young Filipinos with good, shall we say, foundation in the arts. And they would be trained abroad or locally. No? So we have yung sa Makiling. If you go to Makiling, there's an art school in Makiling. So a 4-year program for arts. So ito yun, it's very crucial. Of course, through the years, since wala na si Imelda Marcos, siya yung pinaka-benefactor niyang lahat yan. When I was studying in high school, yung kabatch namin was sent over to Juilliard. He was a good cellist, violinist. No? He was a good violinist, but I haven't heard of him since. No? Kasi usually they'll train in Juilliard, then they'll be part of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. So they would play once they go back to the Philippines. They'll be playing over dun sa Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra. Of course, through the years, nawala sila. But of course, we do have yung national artist recently. Si Ryan Cayabyab. He's a national artist now. So he is the resident conductor of several big Philharmonic orchestras. And that would be the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, that of Toyota Philharmonic Orchestra, also that of San Miguel Corporation. So I do have opportunities to read about them, but I failed to go over them. What else? I think he's a resident conductor also of Channel 2 sa Philharmonic Orchestra. But of course, ito hindi pare-pareho. Of course, another talent came into form, no? Kapatid ni Lea Salonga. He was, I think, again, trained in Juilliard. So sa Juilliard sila. So he was yung competition ni Ryan Cayabyab. Of course, he is, in fact, a national artist. Now, there are several new national artists. No? So, as always, pag nagkaroon ka ng stamp, it would have meant you have died already. So there are several. So Nick Joaquin with Larawan. You know Larawan, right? So Larawan, a portrait of a Filipino something. So that should be it, no? So Dula ang UP Teatro, no? So Dula ang UP in Wilfredo Maria Guerra. So when we were growing up as students, we would be asked to view this program. So make a reaction to that as a support to local theater. Local, so not imported na theater. So therefore, these are perhaps take-offs from that, or we'll be asked to watch Filipino movies to make a review out of them. So not for anything, but I think this is part ng biodiversity issue natin. So culturally speaking, of course, it's so difficult. No? From my end, I don't know if you've noticed, through the years I've been doing photography of Aliwan Festival. And this represents, I think, the top 12 winning tribes in the Philippines during the fiestas throughout the year. Of course, sadly, this has been canceled because of the COVID pandemic. So I've been there for the last 3 years, taking pictures, supposedly just to represent what the culture is all about. No? So the rituals, cultural practice, including religion, would be represented then. And as always, surprisingly, it would be the child Jesus. Child Jesus. So si Santo Niño would be celebrated in the Aliwan Festival. So out of the 12 tribes, you'll be seeing around 8 of them presenting the Santo Niño. Not for anything. I think this has been imbibed of the part ng culture natin, yung tradition, to celebrate the Santo Niño. So, even for yung Nuestra Senora Bien Viaje, which is supposedly about Our Lady of Good Voyage, or Santi Polo, still will be the Santi Niño that will be represented there. But not for anything. This is something non-religious or non-political. As always, it's something deeply rooted into our culture. So if you have, well, I'll try to make a series of photographs from into a video just for you to have an idea as far as what this one represents. No? So obviously to the years, and when we do have the Metropolitan Theater stage, we would watch it when I was growing up. This is part of my growing up. The music altogether is all about the condiments. Of course, all these things. No? So you have noticed even for the paintings, of course, yung very famous natin, Vicente Manansala. You have Amor Solo. Of course, of course, Lucio San Pedro for music. So sa Angono side to sa Sarisa. So I think the center, the seat of culture in turn, culture, music, and arts would be Rizal, the Rizal province. Of course, mostly centered on Angono. Kasi Angono would have Lucio San Pedro, of course, a national artist of that. Vicente Manansala, Botong Francisco of that. So if you've noticed, part of it would be the Angono petroglyphs. So the Angono petroglyphs, these are drawings of our forefathers. And they're supposed to be in the caves in Angono. So I would have loved us to go over there, no, as a culminating activity actually. Just to have the pictures with the drawings of the caveman. And if you've noticed, some of these parallels that of several caves, Neanderthal in some caves in France. So meron siya, no, mga caves of France, so there will be drawings of these people. So this would have been something for us. But of course, as time wouldn't permit us, these are activities already we failed to do so. So a part of this would be a takeoff on baybayin. So baybayin would be what? These are regional scripts. In the Philippines, we do have seven regional scripts now called lumped together under baybayin. And it's spread all over the countries. There are several found in Visayas, several in Luzon. Of course, I think there's one in Mindanao. So I think 3 or 4, 3 in Visayas, 3 in Luzon, and 1 in Mindanao. So ang sleep, they're not similar. So if you go to the National Museum, exactly in the National Museum for Natural Sciences, I think, there's a section, I think on the 3rd floor, yung bagong building, no? That you'll see the room for baybayin. Now, all things I've been mentioning, they're etched in several stones. And the stones now will have to deal with the script itself. So, of course, ang sinasabi dito, it was more of a saying daw. So, supposedly, had the Dumaguete trip came into from our end, I would have gone to a university there, no, sa Dumaguete, where yung one of yung leading lights on baybayin would have been around. So I have a book of him which he autographed personally, and I would have wanted to talk to him. You'll be surprised. He's a marine biologist taking up his PhD in marine biology. So it's a marine bio, almost close to my pre-med, which is zoology. He was given a gift. A gift of what? So, mga shell siya, taklobo. So, it's given a taklobo. So, supposedly, ang taklobo, dito makikita yung mga pearls. Okay, so ano nasa taklobo? Inscripted there where? By the baybayin na, na titik. No? So, what's surprising about this one? we have been told traditionally that ang record keeping natin was placed on fragile materials. So always, they would have been placed on bamboos and of course on yung mga ano ng tawag natin yung sa saging, dahon ng saging. No? So therefore, this would have been very critical because they are fragile materials. There will be no record of it. No? So anyway, what's surprising was that they started to place the script on several things. As I mentioned, in the National Museum for in natural sciences, they place it what? On stones. And therefore, this is almost similar to the Rosetta stones. You've noticed, no? So they were able to decode what? The hieroglyphics through the Rosetta stone, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, in this case, the baybayin have led to what? The decoding of most of this through that. No? So ano pang isa natin? Of course, the Taclobo would be what? A revelation. And this has gotten me an interest in looking into several things, no? Religion and baybayin, and then of course baybayin and medical, Filipino traditional medical practices. If you notice, part of my lecture sometimes would deal on this one. So religion, as always, because what was inscripted in the stones in the national history would be dealing about a reference to a female individual. So I don't know if it's about a Filipina god or to our mothers at that. So why am I saying this one? As always, usually if you talk about the high priestess, so in any setup in Philippine culture, it's always the male who is supposed to be the Raha or the Datu. The Datu would be fiefdoms, so mga fiefdoms ang tawag dito. They're supposed to be rulers, but the Raha would be the overall leader. So Datu Humabon, all these Datus, they're supposed to be kings. But if you talk to the Raha itself, Raha Sulaiman at that will be the overall leader or overall warlord. If you have to take a look at this. If you go by history, this should be it. So if you go in the Philippines, Manila, that should be also, no? You go by our Philippine history. So marami rin tayo. So anyway, this has something to do with biodiversity and diversity. All these things, no? Religion, our culture, our arts, our paintings. Now it has evolved, no? Before we don't have abstract paintings, now we're seeing them. But of course, the highlight would have been seeing, for me, no, the Angono petroglyphs. And I've been dying to go there. So this is supposed to be a follow-up to everything. But there have been problems from my end. The problem would be what? As always, the road going to the Angono petroglyphs would be what? Being paved. So under ano siya, no? Under construction yung roads. So it's supposed to be there. I'll be trying my best to scout it. But apparently during the times I am available, it would be closed. It's always closed on a Monday. Then it's only open from Tuesday to Friday. But if you go to the National Museum, it's even open on Sundays. Unfortunately, what are the other issues? It's still under renovation. It's just like a tunnel wherein supposedly the drawings. Of course, to some, there will be no interest as far as this one. But to think of Neanderthal individuals doing the drawings itself, that might be interesting. Of course, yung ano natin sa baybayin, the leading light on this one, the one with a PhD degree on baybayin, will be the best person to point it out. Of course, I was supposed to present you with some videos and articles I have stored in my laptop, but unfortunately the laptop would prevent me from doing so. Perhaps if I start my PhD degree on this, I don't know when, that should be the highlight of it all. But of course, we went through baybayin, but from my end, it will be medical anthropology now. So my interest would be medical anthropology. But anyway, those are supposedly plans of mine. So anyway, so those things. No? So anyway, if you take a look, this is part ng cultural biodiversity natin. So went through the walkthrough, pati pagkain is part of that. So ripraps, the protection of our coastal areas, yung mga erosion niya, these are very much part of it. So we go to La Pachea, of course, it was a very big event to some of us. The documentation thing about this, even going as far as the Ninoy Aquino Parks and Wildlife. No? So the good thing about this, we do have what? Philippine monkey eating eagle in Quezon City. But I don't know what has happened right now with the shutdown itself. I wouldn't know what would have happened here. I was told by the first year students who studied at UPLB that we do have several still in Mount Manao, I think, or in Makiling. I'm not so sure. It's in Makiling or Mount Manao. Anyway, UPLB abounds in what? Migratory birds. And you know, if we talk about this one, this I think I mentioned it to you already. This tells us the number of migratory birds tells us what? The level of healthiness of our what? Wetlands. And the wetlands are very crucial as far as biodiversity is concerned. So very important from our end. No? So educational system and all that, it has now been evolving. No? So recently, ano yung problema natin? Online platforms, all this issue, very crucial siya. So why is it very crucial? Kasi some would be living in the mountains. So if you're in the mountainous regions, this will be a problem by itself. No? It's a very big issue. So paano pupunta yung signal ng cellphone? So I think some would be talking about radios. And I don't know if any one of you ever thought of, have ever seen radios already. No? Some of them, they're not as good as before. But if you go by yung preparation for calamities, one important aspect of it would be radios. Why? Communication kasi siya. Instructions will be shared over the radio frequency, supposedly. No? So, right now, we're using the platform ng cellphones under the NTC to spread over information. Pero, di ba kayo nagigising sa madaling araw na may sinesend sila? May parating na ulan. So, yellow warning, all those. No? So, or perhaps an earthquake or what just has happened. But anyway, so seriously, so these are things from our end that we're supposed to look into as part ng biodiversity natin. Okay, so anyway, families, you know, how families react. So in terms ng crisis, as always, something acute. So how would we react now? So the greater our functionality, the greater would be how we could cope with the issue on hand. No? Kasi kung functionality, that would be easier. So a lot of resources to go along with, we will be able to handle the crisis immensely. So the preparations will have to deal with resources. So social, cultural, religious, economic, educational, of course, environmental, including your medical aspect of that. So functionality in terms of your Apple scoring. So 4 to 7, moderately functional. Beyond that, so 8 and above, very highly functional. And that would mean the family might be able to cope with situations. So as always, if you take note, what has happened here, for those with very high functionality, you can weather the storm, so to speak. Those in the middle would have some little issues, I guess. And those beyond that, there will be problems. So what are the problems? You're living separately, some are living, some families would have their roots in provinces. Of course, right now, there are several issues to it. So financial consideration, this has become a very serious issue for us. No, something for us now to look into. Something that we all dread. Now we go to communities trying to help out one another. So we go to the NGOs trying to provide for help. Of course, other than human beings, we do have POS or the Kingdom something na organization trying to deal now with the dogs. Of course, also and the cats. No? So these are their issues. So for those during the initial staging of the lockdown, there were people complaining from, I think, Cartimar, na hindi daw napapakain yung mga aso. So they were, say, howling and all that. So they started going to Cartimar. No? until finally there were people who were able to go there and then feed the dog, so to speak of. They were saying hindi naman daw napabayaan. Of course, there are other shall we say, animal stores na dealing with that. So we go to Arangke, I don't think that's a major problem. Pwede naman kunin. But to those na in the malls, na mga natin, na pet stores and all those, so this might be problems. Birds, the fishes and all that, so this might be problems. So, iba sinasabi, tao lang. No? But you see these things, it's the human beings encroaching on what? Tinitira ng mga birds and animals, including the fishes. So we're throwing off what? Trash and pollutants into the rivers. So if you take note of, ang ilog natin o yung mga waterways, we're the biggest in terms of sheer size sa mundo natin. And the pollution will have tremendous consequences on our part. So we go into recycling, we need to recycle all these things from yung mga basura natin. So reduce, reuse, recycle. So we have to repurpose materials we've been using. And this is very important from our end. Otherwise, other than that, ano pa yung mga issue natin? So, tubig. So, being very critical at that. So, ang body natin consists of, I think, 90% at least of water. So, therefore, taking in drugs, taking in coffee or soft drinks with diuretics would lead to water losses. And therefore, we might have some form of electrolyte imbalances. So if you vomit a lot, you're having your diarrhea, so these will be issues as far as the electrolytes. So food we eat, so the food we eat right now. So these are issues also. So kinakain. So food, rice granary of the Philippines, supposed to be, I think right now it's Nueva Ecija, used to be what? The central Luzon plain. It's all located there. But of course, through the years, the Calabarzon area would provide support for the central plains of Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, even Pampanga as part of yung rice granary ng Pilipinas. So these are terms. No? So we go for food, as always, pagkain. We've done some look into it. But Pampanga is hailed as the culinary capital of the Philippines. So you have to go to Pampanga, eat their sisig, go to Acheng Lilian for all the food. So very famous from sisig. We do have yung of course the Batangueños would have their say also on that. So as far as their Loming Batangas, all these things. Of course, anywhere we go, the Filipinos are known for their love of food. So yun yung mga issue natin. So if you go by different regions, there are a lot of seeds. You go as far as Ilocos, there will be issues. No? So you go as far as Capiz, we do have now the seafood capital of the Philippines. So a lot of that. With those issues na. So lahat napakamura. Of course, because of all these biodiversity things, this makes touring the Philippines very interesting. We go as far as Mindanao, very different. So it's really very exciting. I remember when Gina Lopez was still alive, the issue would be in fishing villages. So sa fishing villages kasi lives a group of families na. So working as fishermen and of course doing some arts and crafts during the day. So very traditional yan. If you've been watching ANC's Dayaw under now Congresswoman Lauren Legarda, no? You'll be seeing the traditional arts and crafts of the Philippines, even traditional dances at that. So very crucial siya. No? So we do have several national artists in terms of the Filipino arts and crafts. Of course, if you go up north, ang very famous would be Wang Wood as far as tattooing. So tattooing natin would be only given to what? Supposedly warriors. So these are what? A badge of honor. So very crucial yan. So you've been given that opportunity to have your skin tattooed by the national artist. So it's also something very important. So mambabatok yung term natin. So as always, yung mga design would complement what? your say stature in a tribe, also sa group of people. So very important to. Even the way we dress, this would tell us something. So if you go to Mindanao, Visayas, no, where Amaya abode supposedly, so Hiligaynon. So the problem is, yung Hiligaynon na being uh, spoken in this case is a different twist from the traditional Hiligaynon. So Hiligaynon is what? A take-off from the Datus who came all the way with their balangay. So very crucial kasi ito. They are the recorder of the Philippine history. So I think I remember discussing with you minstrels. So we go to UK before, we do have the minstrels. So minstrels will be what? Doing the story or retelling their history through music. Now, in this case, yung prinsesa nila, of course, I can't pinpoint the term for right now. It's something like a batok or something. No? It's supposed yung prinsesa, hindi lalapat yung paa nila dun sa lupa. It will be carried around. But ang responsibility niya would be what? To recite their history through music. So, ito usually, no, so hiniligay nun siya. So these are part of it. So we talk about scripts as far as the babaylan. This would be some issues na we have to deal with. So very crucial to. Of course, if you watch Amaya, yun nga mga ano natin, ano, those are some of my problems. We do have the whole videos of Amaya supposedly to be part ng ating arsenal or videos. So this would have to deal with traditional healing, arbabaylans, obviously, and even for the high priestesses. So if we go by Mumbaki, as always, so the rituals, all those before what? Rice planting for a good harvest. So before going to war, all these things. So these are rituals and traditions ingrained already with us. No? So the opening scene for Amaya would have been what? Very dramatic as far as highlighting a study or our foray into Filipino culture and tradition. So you'll be seeing the balanghay in its mighty form. I think the closest I could give you would be some pictures I've taken from the National Museum. At the back of the National Museum, there was supposed to be a balangay unearthed where? This was unearthed in Butuan City. Now, here lies the issue in Butuan City. So, Butuan City claims to be the first venue where the first Catholic Mass was conducted in the Philippines. Of course, Limas sa Leyte was known to be the place for the first Catholic Mass. Unfortunately, at that time, when there were a panel of experts doing the debate on where it would have been, whether in Butuan City or in Leyte, it was during the martial law years. And Imelda Marcos, being the first lady, would hear none of it. No, so if you go to Butuan City, they have started unearthing larger balangays. And they were saying these are enough proof to say that the first mass was done there. So of course, obviously for commerce purposes. Ang naging problema dito, yung record keeper nila. So ito very important. No? You might not be taking it seriously. So ang record keeper during every trip of those Spanish conquistadores, they would record it as part of their annals of their travels all over the world. Of course, especially in the Philippines. So Pigafetta made, accordingly to them, an error as far as to the parallel. So that means referring to what island they were in. So he was mistaken. So of course, these were from the books I've been studying and I was taking up my Philippine history when I was in my pre-med. So ang sabi dito ni Renato Constantino, so two books he wrote. One is Revisiting the Past. Of course, these were supposed to be Bibles, no, of Philippine history. But this was what? Banned during our time, after our time. Why? Because it had supposedly, quote-unquote, erroneous data now. So what they used was that of Saide. and that of Teodoro Agoncillo. So these are very crucial things. Ano? So letters, record keeping, all this changing Philippine history or having fake news. So fake news was already within army during the time of the Katipunero. So if you went through Philippine history, so if you went through the Leon Galleries, no, I think I placed it over into your FB account. The Leon Galleries would be presenting some letters already, debunking some claims. No? So ito as far as Filipino leadership issues, as far as what has transpired during the Philippine Revolution, during the annals of our uprising against the Spanish overlords. No? So there were several issues already here, and it was already all over the newsprint. But of course, we haven't taken so much interest into this one. I have several photographs that would perhaps highlight these issues already. And recently now, I think the Leon Galleries have several letters that of Rizal. So he was mentioning several things there, something for you perhaps to look into and learn from. I'm not saying you go through that. It's that if that is not your interest. Of course, that would be just what we call nice to know information. So essentially, something for you to understand. So part ng collection sa Leon Galleries would be some what? Engravings of the national hero of ours. So ito medyo malalaking halaga. Some of his letters, including his engravings, and even his sculptures. No? Of course, his famous sculpture stands in front of the UP College, I think, of Medicine. So, of course, there were issues as far as the Paulinas. No? Kung taga St. Paul, Manila ka, there have been some issues raised by, I think, the owners of the school, no? Being what? It's supposed to be, shall we say, obscene from their end. So ito mga issues to, as always. So from the religious group, it's supposed to be obscene. But for those lover or patrons of the arts, and of course, that of the national hero is supposed to represent something else. So there's always a clash of ideas and opinions on several things. And this make what our lives more meaningful to some extent, right? Kasi not for anything. If there's always agreement in issues, then there wouldn't be any discussion at all. There wouldn't be any progress as far as learning. But anyway, I think that should be part of the biodiversity thing. So different beliefs, different religious affiliations, different history, different ethnicity. Uh, those should be it. No? Different backgrounds as far as where we started our medical schooling or our pre-med courses, even for our other educational undertakings. No? So post-medical, that would also define us as practicing physicians, even our specialties, specialty of choice, subspecialization, all these things. So yung mga background, even the background of your professors would have to enrich you. Kung kasi masyadong one-dimensional, just one piece ng information lang ang always marireceive mo. That might not lead to progress after all, as far as our enrichment as an individual and as a person as a whole. Remember, in family medicine, we take a look at all those things, not only in diseases, but also in terms of whatever information we can imbibe. Of course, those 3 years, it might be a rocky situation for everyone. Of course, as always, Dr. Mendoza, that does not fit to the usual norm. So, iba yung mga pananaw ko on certain things. Even the way I ask questions, even if I give grades. But I think as far as blended education, CFM would be the first one on that. So, anyway, I think that's something for us to review. The manner songs were composed, they were delivered. If you have to go through a balagtasan, that's something also very important to us, how it was delivered. But if you take note, no, right now, ano yung uso? We do have what? The flip-flops. Parang nung araw, labanan ng mga balagtasan. No? Of course, you have Hussein Sisiw or Hussein Batute as the leading lights also of that of from Bulacan. Of course, it's the same. No? That's also Francisco Balagtas o Baltasar. That. So may balagtasan. Meron din naman flip-flop na contest, di ba? Right now. So sino ba si Abra? May mga ano rin tayo, flip-flop siya. Of course, if you go to Glock 9, may mga rap battles na. And all these have been part of almost with similarity to our balagtasan. Gusto nga mag-balagtasan tayo, but it would have been better with a Barong Tagalog. So you know how I dress for my lectures. So obviously for formal occasions or formal days, except on a Saturday. But anyway, this is part of promoting our Filipino culture. To some, wearing the Barong Tagalog might be a thing of the past. But this is something you're supposed to wear with pride, no? I remember when I was still into my pre-med days, I have determined what clothes to wear supposedly on my clinic. And that should be well, supposedly you've seen me during my clinic days, I'll be wearing my barong or the working barong Tagalog. So obviously these are now things. So I have determined that a long time ago. So I was still in my residency training programs. My wife had bought me already some Barong Tagalog to begin with. But of course, these were donated eventually now to for a good cause supposedly, no, during the Ondoy times. But anyway, short of that, that's part of it. Even the music itself. So things for us. No? So baybayin would be there. So hopefully during your clerkship, I'll be able to give you the lecture already on baybayin. So many things to do, so little time. Really, after all these years, even after the lockdown itself, still not enough time for me. No? So many things I would like to accomplish. So many things I'd like to share with everyone. But in a nutshell, that should be it. No? From the food, the clothing, even for the music itself, even for some activities we had through the years, this would be a lifetime's dream from my end. So obviously, I would have to thank every one of you for being part of it. No? So, MMC, of course, under the helm of Doctors Abacon and of course Dr. Abacon, giving me the opportunity to launch and roll out programs and certain activities I failed to accomplish in my other school. Of course, in my graduate school, uh, it's a different take altogether. So the lectures on pictures alone was a hit, so to speak, from my dean. So I have to pursue that. So all those things. If you've noticed, some of the things I've been doing in graduate school, I've started implementing also in our subjects in CFM. So I don't know if things would happen the way I envision it. I'll turn over to the public health side, and Dr. Nara, Dr. Liu, and Dr. Bacoro would be concentrating now on CFM. I don't know, no? Kasi there'll be instances I might seriously follow up a PhD program. But anyway, that should be it. No? So for our entire 3 years, that should somehow sum up what we've been trying to deal with. So we started off with MDGs, so 8 time bounded goals, supposedly signed by several world leaders to have been accomplished by 2015. It's now 2020, the world is in turmoil. We have the SGDs, no? So all these things, if you take note of this one, this would parallel that of yung biodiversity or the things we have tackled through the years. No, it's just on a different take. It started off with its roots from reforming the universal healthcare system to all those things. So funding, financing, all those things that should encompass everything. So there are still several things I failed to accomplish. No? So I don't know if I will be able to do that in my lifetime. But anyway, I think if you've noticed, some of those things already would align with whatever you have taken. I know sometimes you'll be amazed why I want to stick with the traditional concepts before because that started it all. So Alma Ata was a game changer for public health practitioners. For those who would like to envision a healthier Philippines for the year 2000, health for all by the year 2000, all these things, this has been part of it. To the student leaders out there, we were at the forefront of the battle also for reforming the health system. But there were things we have to realize as we go up the ladder, that there are things that cannot be accomplished simply by just crying outdoors. Somehow you would need to be somebody to effect change. So those are things I have learned through the years. There are changes, no, occurring right now, but that cannot have its effect on people unless you're somebody called key opinion leaders in the delivery of the health system. So very crucial yan. So you have your own battles, but I know it will not end there. It will go on as always. No? But you just have to keep that in mind. I remember when I was younger, during my pre-med days, I'll be talking to my dad as far as all those dreams we had, no? Changes and all that. I don't know if I told the story to you. We were students then, we were paying 249 pesos a semester. At that time, UST was paying already 1,000 pesos a semester. Marcos made our tuition fee higher by 25 pesos and we went on rally. If you've seen my post lately, I think 2 weeks ago, it was a post on the oblation. And that is where my education ended. So we had our final photo ops as a batch, a graduating batch of zoologists then. But I wasn't there personally. Why? Kasi yung kaibigan ko, nagchichismisa kami. I would have been there, no? But honestly, kasama ko yung barkada kong pare, who's now the head of the Philippine Capuchin Order in the Philippines and that at the South Pacific Islands. So nagchichismisan lang kami. Sa picture lang naman yan. And if you've noticed through the years, you will hardly see me in those photos. And even in photos I would take, I wouldn't be there. I won't feel comfortable being in most of those photos. But kidding aside, those were going back to Dekada 80. So you have to take note. So anong history ng Dekada 80? We have the first quarter storm. So that means during the first quarter, the UP community went into arms against the dictatorship at that point in time. The campuses within that community were turned into what? A guerrilla warfare. So it was held then. But of course, I was still young at that time, wouldn't be aware so much. Of course, this was after eventually martial law was declared. So if you have listened to my earlier lectures prior to moving to MMC, I would talk of these grassroots movements of students and political movements against then President Marcos. Of course, Tondo was the only surviving organization at that point. So to which MMC is located. So remember, we're in Tondo. So they called the Soto movement. And it was against the martial law years. And therefore, this has led to something else. The fusion of religious and political convictions now. And this has changed the landscape. So if we see my original lectures prior to everything, prior to the changes itself, I would talk about life liberation theory. So the life liberation theory has converted a lot of the religious group into something else. So Luis Salandoni becoming the what? The head of the NDF, being radicalized and politicized because of the life liberation theory. We go to South America, a lot of them have a change of heart as far as their religious training because of the life liberation theory. So what am I saying here? The Philippines, together with its roots of religion, no, from South America, have their change of heart. Kasi almost similar yung ating mga conditions. You have Antonio, well, you have Pinochet, of course, you do have the Sandinistas and all that. But not for anything. No? I'm not saying anything. It's all up to you to have your convictions. No? When I was still a student leader there, we were the second batch of national officers of the Philippine Medical Students Association, comprised of 7 medical schools. So you have MCU, you have Fatima, you have FEU, you have UE, you have PGH, ano pa ba? UERM. Of course, AIAC came after. When I was already the national vice president, we were able to convince AIAC to join the fray. So AIAC joined us because one of the students there, the student leaders in AIAC, was a classmate of mine during our UP days. And therefore, they joined the fold. So they were the first one to have the flag of the Philippine Medical Students Association, if you may say so. So I have to travel all the way to AIAC for all this. So organizing, doing all these things. I will be taking the rounds of the medical schools, speaking in behalf of our organization. Of course, this has changed in complexity. I would be one of the moderates as far as the political organization. And after a while, of course, a lot of the administrators prone on the PMSA. And here lies now the birth of AMSA. No? So AMSA was a strong force. They were a stronger force kasi hindi the same yung kanilang pananaw on certain things. But as I mentioned, I'm a moderate as far as this one. Our national president was very radical on this side. No? So she joined yung MAT, no? Medicine Against Dictatorship or something. I don't know anymore, to which the former UP Chancellor belonged. No? So Chancellor Tan, who's a medical anthropologist, was one of their members also. So very progressive yung mga view nila on this one. I'm not saying I'm a progressive, I'm a leftist-leaning individual or something in view, but I do have certain views on certain things. Okay, so not for anything. So that perhaps would explain my position on a lot of things. I would agree on what I like. I would disagree on what I don't like. As always, that should be the case. So even for my subject, there are certain things I would have to strictly adhere. But anyway, that should be in a nutshell. So just giving you reasons behind some of my actions, even my pronouncements of that. So as always, being a student leader is a good thing. Being a faculty officer, to which I was once also, being a chapter president at that, being a member of several committees in our specialty society, that would explain my perhaps inexperience on a lot of things. No? So obviously, I just wanted to thank everyone for bearing with me for the last 3 years on a Saturday at that, especially itong last year nyo on a Saturday afternoon. You know how difficult it is to stay awake on a Saturday. Anyway, that should be it, no? I think that should be the end of my rant. So you just have to submit whatever it is. No? So dating paraluma, of course, I was also asking for the review of the program of CFM for the last 3 years. For those with problems, you can perhaps just message me sa Messenger o sa FB account natin. And then I'll have to deal with you. Alam niyo naman yun, if you do have problems, more than 4 absences, as always lang, I would have to ask for certain things. Kasi as always, I might be quizzed by the dean or somebody else on these things now. So therefore, those measures would be enough to deflect criticisms on certain things. So anyway, I do hope it was a productive 3 years for everyone. So you're supposed to endeavor now on your full-time clinical activities, no? So to speak of. Unfortunately, no face-to-face contact until January, unless this would be lifted. So that might be a little bit difficult. Still, your best option will be to go into electives that might not need actual patients or face-to-face or even in CFM. So we tried it with batch 2020. Hopefully, it would be good enough. No? Of course, it's a new program, supposedly. We just did it for the second time around. So I don't know if it will still be possible this school year. So to everyone concerned, so salamat po for bearing with me. Of course, I just gave you a summary of your 3 years with me. So hopefully we've learned a thing or two. I don't think you love CFM because CFM does not represent your clinical intentions. So as always, ang intention natin is to treat. But CFM does its own body of knowledge, its own clinical skills, and of course, area of research, a specialized training at that. So therefore, with that, I should end. I know you're dying to do something else. So before that, can I just hear the voices of everyone as always? So unless there are concerns or questions you'd like to raise. Meron pa ba? Are there things we'd like to discuss here? So I'm taking a look at attendance. So may mga problema ba kayo as far say for example number ng absences, perhaps sa immersions, anything to that? You just have to tell me right now. Kasi precisely, that's something really now we have to thresh out. No? Kasi there have been rules already as far as this one. So if you're lacking, say for may phone-in message. Let me read this one. Medyo malakas po yung background noise. Sorry, no? Kasi nagagawa dito sa bahay sa amin. So I have no place to go. Yung kids ko, they're watching It Bulaga. So I can't stay there. So I have to find a place. If I go upstairs dun sa clinic ng sister ko, mas maingay, I think. Nagpipintura naman siya. Then we'll hear the sound. Mas magre-reverberate siya. So anyway, are there any other questions you'd like to raise other than the noise itself? So if you take note of yung mga, yung mga SGDs na you were talking about or you earlier studied perhaps from Dr. Nara, this was answered by it. As always, I'm a historical buff. I like history. If, say, for example, I go by presentation, if you'll take notice, I'll talk about the demographics and epidemiology of it. As always, and even for my reporting, I think I have taken it from the book on the journal on medicine, which follows the same format. Of course, I love history for one. That's something really I've liked. No? I would have been perhaps a better lawyer or perhaps a better political science major rather than a doctorate. But any other questions you'd like to raise? So before we end your 3 years with us. Of course, if you're still around or you're in the hospital, you see me around, should you want some clarifications perhaps or some, I don't know, other things you perhaps should like to discuss with me, then just feel free. As always, I'll be at 10:07, 10:08. So as always, Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays, so that should be 7 to 5. And of course, on Tuesday, 7 to 10. Barring any changes as far as the schedule. So as far as the things I'm doing right now. Okay, so questions ba? Meron paglilinaw sa ating mga pinag-usapan. Or perhaps things we've went through the years. So meron ba tayo kailangang linawin? Meron ba kayong gustong itanong? Of course, a lot of times I'll be saying a lot of controversial things. So anything to that effect? Meron ba tayo? So anyone? Dr. Palomilio, anything to ask? As always, very outspoken. Anything to say? O Dr. Montejo,
Wala
being the
naman
former
po.
Dr. Montejo, being the former coordinator, any other things you'd like to raise?
Dok, wala na po.
Wala, lahat wala. Of course, Dr. Saldana, anything to say from the land of activism, shall we say? So anything, or you're a better cook than a better husband. What do you think?
I am both, Doc.
I am pure both. Obviously, no? So anyway, anything else to say? Anyone would like to venture on something else or clarifications perhaps? Meron pa ba? I think that should be it, no? So essentially, I gave you a summary of it. And then, of course, the other things, they would just have to follow. So as I mentioned, on the 29th, I'll be forced to submit your grade. So there will already be a deliberations as to who would go into clerkship already. So I don't know, no? Sigurado ba yan? July 1 ang start ng clerkship nyo, or it would have to be deferred on September 1? Alam niyo na ba?
August,
When you're supposed,
August 1
kailan?
start, Doc.
August 1
August
daw
August
po,
siya.
1.
sabi ni Dean.
Okay, so I guess that should be it. No? So the thing would be perhaps to prepare departments. So ilan yung mga tao doon? I don't know really. Kasi still magulo, sketchy. No, face-to-face contact would be very difficult issues already. But again, I will have to remind everyone, as far as most of the requirements, I think I have it already. The differences in grades will come in from where? Yung first prelim natin na grades. I have computed it kasi more or less, yung midterms and finals, the same na lahat ang sinubmit nyo. So wala masyadong issue dito. The issue would be in the first prelim. So doon magkakatalo as far as the grades. Now, if you do have absences, 4 and above, the same lang naman. Napakadali lang naman ng paggagawa ko. As always, the reason would be like, should I be quizzed by the dean on this one or even the EVP or the owners? I could always make reasons for it. No? Even CHED or APMC, should they come to inspect us again? I don't know. That would be one way really to say you have accomplished something to make up for certain absences. But anyway, I think that should be it. No? So I've enjoyed most of your videos. As always, I think you've set up certain activities I've dreamed for the longest time. You made it into fruition as far as I'm concerned. And I guess that should be it. No? So to my advisory group, as always, no? So thank you for bearing with a poor researcher such as Dr. Mendoza. Anyway, to the rest, to those I've been with for just a year or two, so thank you. No, I know it's a different way of handling certain things. Of course, you trained from the very best of PAFP. Of course, you've dealt with the presidents of PAFP at that. So a far cry from Dr. Mendoza. So anyway, I'll still be around, very much around. But as far as what's in store for everyone, that might be something na a big question mark for us. Okay, I won't hold you anyone. As always, that's our doorknob phenomenon uh, na concept. Of course, I have incorporated it already into the counseling mode. Added a lot of newer things. Now, the climate change, this has been changed already. This is already part of the first semester for third year. We now have a COVID update summit at the end of the second semester. So these are some of the changes. No? I have incorporated a lot of the COVID conditions. So contact tracing you have done as part of the newer curriculum for the entire 3 years. But anyway, may mga tanong pa ba tayo? Wala na? Okay, so for those with perhaps some deficiencies, try talking to me later or i-message na lang sa Messenger or sa FB. Okay, as always, I'll be around naman. No? So I think that should be it. So are there any more questions perhaps? Things you'd like to clarify? Just raise it up sa FB. Okay?
All right, Doc.
So, okay. So, Dr.
Okay
Guerra.
po, Doc.
Okay. So, as always, yung ending natin, can I hear the voices of everyone before you all go?
My voice. Hello.
Hi, Doc.
Hello, Doc.
Bye,
And
Doc.
Doc.
Bye,
Hi,
Doc.
Doc.
bye.
Hello, Doc.
Happy Father's Day.
Hi, Doc. Hi, Doc.
Thank you po.
Bye,
Doc.
Doc. Thank you po.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye,
Doc.
Doc.
Okay, so
Bye,
thank
Doc. Salamat siya.
so
Bye,
soon
Doc.
we'll have
Yeah.
Saga.
Ingay ka.
Para sa Saga, Cayenne Sen. Okay?
Hi,
So
Doc.
anyway, yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Doc.
Hello. So,
Thank
happy
you po.
birthday,
Thank you po,
Maui, no?
Doc.
So, Mauri.
Thank you,
So, happy
Doc.
birthday.
Thank you,
Happy
Doc.
birthday to
Okay.
Thank you,
you.
Doc. Happy
Bye po.
Father's Day.
Happy
Okay, bye.
Father's Day, Doc.
Thank you for the greetings. No?
Father's Day, Doc.
Thank you.
Doc, happy Father's Day
Okay.
po.
Happy
Anyway, please
Saturday.
message me. Okay, so thank you. So, I think I have to sign off. I'll be seeing you around.
Bye,
Okay,
Doc.
so bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye po.
Bye po.
Love you, Doc.
Medyo bigla naging popcorn.
Happy birthday, Mau.
Happy birthday, Temao.
Happy birthday, Mau.
Mau, birthday.
Happy
Mau.
birthday,
Happy
Maui.
birthday, Mau.
Father's
Happy
Day.
birthday,
Bye,
Mau.
Doc.
Happy
Happy
Father's
Father's
Day,
Day, Ate
Mau.
Mau.
Doc, Father's Day, Ma.
Happy Father's Day, Ate Mau.
Happy
Father's Day, Kuya Happy Father's Day, Kuya Alex.
Father's Day, Kuya Alex.
Doc.
Father's Day, Nick.
Doc.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Nick.
Doc, ituloy naman for you.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Nick.